All right, since we have everybody here and present, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We'll start with a moment of silence, please. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just want to make sure that we all have our cell phones on silent, turned off. That we don't have any distractions during our meeting. City Clerk Domingo, if you would take a roll call, please.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Reed.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Lemieux.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
And Mayor Snyder.
Here. So we're going to start off this evening with a reading of the proclamation for Arbor. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support. Any questions, comments? Any movement? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams. Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Lawler.
Yes.
Lemieux.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, so now we'll start off with our reading of the Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, James Sterling Wharton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beautify our community. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Victoria Garcia Snyder, Mayor of the City of Albion, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2020, should be 2021, 2022. 2021, as Arbor Day in the City of Albion, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. dated this day, 20th of December, 2021. And next we have a presentation on our Safe-Built program.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
If you open the PowerPoint up.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. We'll introduce ourselves. I'm Glenn Lindsay. I'm the Midwest Director of Operations for Safe-Built. A few of you saw us here a few months ago, and I have with me Kelly Lindsay.
Yes, I'm your account manager for Michigan, meaning I manage accounts of established clients, and I'm also responsible for new sales growth in Michigan. I've been with the company since 2016, and we've been with the company.
Same, since
Same.
2016. We actually were the former owners of Cornerstone Inspection Services, which you may recognize the name. We did work with the city for quite some time, since 2010, I believe, is when we started doing business with the city. So we've been around for a while. Like I said, you may have heard the name Cornerstone, and then we partnered with Safe-Built.
And for those of you that may be new to council, I wanted to bring a little bit of who Safe-Built is to you tonight. We were a company founded in 1992, and as Glenn mentioned, we've been in Michigan since 2010. We have around 1,500 employees and 800 plus municipal clients. That's nationwide, and that would be in 30 states. In Michigan, we have around, of those 850, about 58 clients in Michigan. And I wanted to present that services provided, we're already with you in a full service capacity, meaning building, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, permitting, and plan review and inspections. And that's what we're providing to you now. And the bullet point here, a life cycle of building services, just means that from the inception of a project regarding planning commission or meeting with a developer, all the way to permit issuance and to the inspection for a project, and then following up with a certificate of occupancy, we are that company for you. And our affiliations are many, but as it relates to this area, we are part of ICC, which is a standard of building codes enforced throughout the nation. In fact, Michigan is a little bit of an anomaly in that we provide inspections under the Michigan Building Code. You might be able to speak to that.
The ICC, the International Code Council, they're the ones that actually publish the codes as an international code, and then Michigan has chosen to take that code, make some amendments and modifications specific to Michigan, and then adopt that as the acting code. So right now we're under the 2015 Michigan Residential Code and the 2015 Michigan Building Code. They're derived from the international code family.
So somewhat related, but not to the rental piece, which is a locally controlled and enforced program that you would implement in your ordinances. We're part of the National Home Builders Association, U.S. Green Building Council, National Fire Protection, etc. Infrastructure for our enforcement team would be, we have an executive leadership team that provides outstanding support, and they're based in Colorado in our Loveland corporate office. And then from that, we have the director.
Vice President of Operations.
Vice President, yes.
Which is who I answer to,
Yes.
and then I'm the Midwest Director. We also have a state manager, and then down to your building official. So there's quite an infrastructure there for support for the.
And accountability, for sure. We have core values, 5 of them, that we are committed to: service, integrity, teamwork, improvement, and respect. And that isn't just our approach to our client relationships, but also internally with our relationships with our team members. Next slide. Thank you. So proactive versus reactive. When I say those terms, what I mean is that you are choosing to proactively enforce potentially a rental program that establishes a guideline of levels of safety for tenants, and a level of consistency, yes, versus reactive, which is a complaint-based. So you would be choosing to move forward with a proactive approach versus a complaint-based situation. I included a couple of municipal success stories, and you think, well, how does LA or Sacramento or North Carolina apply to us? These are just statistics for a few rental code enforcement statistics that would just give you a picture of success. And there are many more. I just put 3 together for your reference. Locally, and I can tell you that we have a client similar in size to the city of Albion, a little bit demographic difference, but similar in size. I don't believe they're at 42% of homeowner occupied homes like the city is, but it's close to that, somewhere 28 and 30%. And that is a well-oiled machine under Safe-Built's management at this time. Next slide. You can speak on this.
So we'll just highlight some of the benefits of a rental inspection program. First and foremost is the safety of the tenants, improve neighborhoods and decrease blight. So it brings the housing stock up to a certain minimum standard that the city gets to dictate to what level. And then it also provides a rental database and insight into rental density. So it gives you some metrics that you can measure. Next slide, please.
So this is a cycle that is established for the beginning of a program, and this is the experience that the landlord would have from the beginning all the way to a certificate of compliance. And it's a step-by-step, this is a very high-level view of that. This would be something that we would work together closely with the city to develop the program, though we have mapped out successful programs already, and we would just customize it to the city's needs. But there's going from left to right. The homeowner or landlord is notified to introduce Safe-Built as the rental enforcing agency, and the landlord registers and pays for registration and inspection. We conduct an inspection report is then provided to the landlord, and an inspection follow-up if applicable. That may be a reinspection of a minor non-compliant issue. And then once that's finalized, a certificate of compliance is issued. And whatever cycle the city decides upon, whether it's an annual or biennial, every year or every other year, that would be the cycle for the property owner.
So as she said, this is a high level. The nuts and bolts of it actually get worked out through an ordinance that you would adopt. This just gives you kind of an overview of how the program would work.
Right.
Next slide, please. Should be, okay.
So missing today is Paul Featherston, and Ian McDonald was able to meet him today on a virtual meeting today. He sends his apologies. He'll be here again to introduce himself to you, but Paul Featherston is your state operations manager. And I thank you for this time. I know it's a very quick, lots of information. We're certainly available to field any questions, concerns, etc.
Do you have any questions from council? Yes, Councilman Laser.
So we have the contract or an agreement in the packet tonight. Is this presentation reflective of what we're agreeing to tonight? Okay, because I read what we're agreeing to tonight as the regular services that we do for the city and not rental certification.
Correct. This was just kind of a reintroduction to a potential rental certification program here.
Okay, I wanted that to be crystal clear for everybody, because I had worked along with former Councilwoman Clark on rental certification, and there were a lot of issues with the last ordinance that needed to be corrected. So I wanted to make sure that we knew that if we're voting on this agreement, it's not for rental certification, it's for our current services. This was just a presentation about the future potential rental certification. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Any other questions from council members? Well,
Thank you for
very
your
much.
time. Thank you so much.
We don't have purpose for a public hearing, time now for public comments. At this point, anybody in the gallery can stand and speak, for 3 minutes to a agenda item only. So if you would like to give us your name and your address, the floor is yours.
All right, my name is Jim Stahl. My address is not in the city, but my property is. It's 900 South Superior Street. I've owned it for 30 years. Looks like you've already bought this. So it looks like to me, you've already bought this plan. So, I mean, what I'm saying is, there's no need for rental certification in this town. It's too small a town. We're too poor. I'm poor. My tenants are poor. Everything you jack on me is gonna be added to them, and they're on fixed income. They're old people. You know, they can't stand it. I can't afford to bring my house to code. It's a 90-year-old house to your satisfaction. It costs more than my house is worth to bring it to there. I've called a couple of people earlier and I got through and I left a couple of messages. Might have been a little harsh. Sorry about that. But the point is, you people, I don't get access to you. I don't have a computer, so I don't get to Zoom or whatever you do when you have one of these meetings, like I couldn't get into last week where I got jacked again for another 15%. But I ain't worried about that. It's not this item. This item is rental certification. And I'm saying, let's do this on a complaint basis. We've already talked about this before, when it didn't get through before. And we sort of, well, I thought we agreed that maybe we'd get on the people that are the problem. You know, I see somebody coming out of town and bringing something here to town that we don't need, that's trying to bring another program we don't need, another cost to the people of the town. This town, this isn't gonna help this city. What's gonna help this city is if you got a guy that's causing a problem, work on that guy. Don't get in my pocket. Don't get in the rest of the landlord's pockets, because this guy's screwing up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do you understand where I'm coming from here? Is that wrong? Am I wrong on that? Would you rather be harassed because somebody else doesn't do their job, doesn't take care of their property? I take care of my property. My old people are happy. If the rent goes up, they ain't gonna be happy because I'm gonna have to throw them out. Or they're gonna have to move or something because it's gonna be too high for them. They're on fixed income. You know, I can't deal with that. You know, I got enough stress here, Don, you know what I mean? You know, I don't know if my 3 minutes is up or not, but that's about all I got to say is, you guys need to think about it. And, oh, thank you. That helped. And, but like I said, you got to harass the guys that are causing the problem. If you're getting complaints, last time we had this issue, you guys had no complaints. There was no complaints. It was brought up by you because you wanted to get in our pockets. And that's what you want now. You know, you're just a big company pushing a little guy around. Albion College doesn't pay any taxes. They aren't getting harassed over anything. I can't leave this town. My property's here. I can't just quit my job like I could at Kellogg because I don't like their crap. I can't quit Albion. I live here, grew up here, born here. My dad was born here. You know, I sort of plan on staying here. But I don't want to deal with this garbage. I don't think I need another couple $100 worth of bills. I just got it on a water bill and a road tax that's thinking about happening.
I'm Jerry Atkins. I live at 1807227 Mile Road. I own 12 houses here in town. I've been before the council for the last 4 years with the same thing. 3 mayors, 4 city managers, most new council, and it's still coming. So I have no problem with Mr. Lindsay. I've dealt with them in the past with stuff. But what it looks like to me is that we're going to pay the registration fee. You're going to get a percentage of the permits, and we're going to have to, the landlords are going to have to spend a ton of money, no matter what, because I've been dealing with this for 40 years here and in Jackson. I've been through certification and all this stuff. And we had the landlords committee, we had all this stuff. We never once got one word back to all the questions we've had. Not any kind, it seems to be like you would have a session at the beginning of the meetings that answered last week's questions, whatever came up, because we never get any feedback. And sounds to me like the sidewalk ordinance was passed 11 years ago. It's going to be $50 a month, not cost much anything, and would have good sidewalks. Me and my daughter paid $10,000 over the 10 years, never got 1 foot of concrete, never got any money back, never got anything. It's just a way to get more money into the budget. So, I mean, these people are going to make a fortune in mining in your town, and the tenants are going to pay. Since we started talking about this 4 years ago, the rents in Albion has went up $250 to $300 already, just anticipating and getting stuff ready. I just don't see who in the heck is still pushing this after 4 years. So just think about it.
Skinner, push it.
Absolutely.
Push it.
Overreach showers, 805 Valhalla Drive. Rent certification. I had a tenant that tore up my house. I spent $5,000 to bring it up to code. And then I had to pay some kind of fee for him to come in and look at it and make sure it's up to code. And then he had to come back. I mean, why are we paying for all this stuff? The water bill gonna go up, the sewer bill or whatever is gonna go up, and then you wanna dig more? Just come on, get in my pocket. Anytime you want to, just come on, get in my pocket. Anytime. That's what y'all doing right now. Every time y'all put something on us, it's going into our pocket. I tell you, my mortgage is already up there. So then when you put this here thing on me, certification, I'm gonna have to put my tenants out because they're not gonna be able to afford it. And then where my house gonna go? I guess I have to go in foreclosure, give up my house or what have you. It puts a hardship on us. But I don't know how many houses y'all own besides your own house that you rent out. But there is a problem because see, the people that live in there tear up the place, and then we have to continue to redo it and redo it and redo it. Then you want to put a tax on us with some certification thing. It's not fair. I mean, the town is small enough, and then you want to bring other hardship on us. I don't get it. I really don't, and I don't see it. I don't see what it benefits us. You know, there are some troubled people, yes. Like he said, go and attack them. You know, if you want the name, we can give you the name, but we need a break. I'm just tired of fighting against everything that y'all try to bring on us, and it's not fair. It's not fair, and I don't want it. I don't want it, and I don't know, you can look away, you can do whatever you want to, but if you had these houses and you had to continue to keep them up to grade, up to code, and then people come in and tear them up, and then there's more money. We're not making no money out of these houses. I'm not, because see, when the house crunch came, I was in, wow, this big old note right here. And then I couldn't redo it because of certain things. But then when it goes up and go down, but then I'm stuck with a bill. I'm stuck with hardship. I'm stuck. And but y'all don't care. Just dig it to us any kind of way you want to. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I disagree with what they said. They say Jackson's having a problem with this here recertification thing, and everybody else is having a little bit of problem. But you don't see that. You see some money, but I see going in the hole, and I don't confess that me. I want to be able to be on top. But when you continue to get this here, digging in my pocket, digging in this here and that, it does not benefit us.
I can't stand up over there. My name is Stacy Stewart. I live at 205 West Oak Street, and we have about 4 individual properties, maybe 5 if you count our building. And some of the things Jim and I were talking about in regard to rental certification that you should consider is it's de-incentivizing to landlords when they think about where to put their money, especially money that's coming out of Jackson. I have friends that have had very unfortunate situations happen in Jackson to the tune of and I don't know what their rates will be, but in Jackson, the tune of, it's a couple $100 an hour to have an inspector come out and inspect your property. When they get out and inspect it, they'll give you a list of things that you need to correct. And then they come back, and it's basically, a lot of times the standard isn't established very clearly. So I mean, if siding doesn't match in Jackson, you have to correct it and bring this inspector back out. So a lot of times it's de-incentivizing. It is going to increase the price of rent for all tenants. Landlords don't keep that expense in their pocket. I mean, some of them do, unfortunately, but some of them move the money through. And so your tenant, when they come to rent, it's not $800 a month anymore, it's $850, because the costs that are incurred when you rent a property, it's a business. So we don't do it for volunteer. So when those expenses come through, they have to flow through to the tenants. So that base rent that Terry was talking about that has gone up will continue to go up. We have, all my properties are not homesteaded. I have a very high tax rate on them. We just got a pretty significant sewer expense, 13% on that as well. So those tenants will have to pay for those property. Another thing to consider is the money that we're investing in the certification, rental certification, any additional expenses, specifically the rental certification will go out of the community. So however many rental properties you have in town, let's say 500 to 1,000, the rate, $70 or $80 that they're going to charge us, that money will go out of town. Jim and I calculated it's only about $100,000 out of the community, but it's going to go back to Colorado, which is where their parent company is. It'll have fewer rental properties. Just some of the things to think about before you adopt rental certification are the unintended consequences. So stop and think about any house that requires $5,000 or $10,000 to fix up will not be fixed up. It will be torn down and put in a dumpster. Because if it doesn't make logical sense to fix it up, you won't fix it up. So it's something to think about there too. So anyways, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to stand and address the council?
Can I get another 3 minutes?
No.
Yeah, imagine that. You know, 3 minutes ain't enough.
Do you have anybody on Zoom that can address us?
Well, it is correct.
Hello,
One property in town.
can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead, floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Garen Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. So I wasn't really going to speak to it, but I because of the comments, I guess I will. I think there is a benefit to rental certification. A couple of years ago, I was talking to a landlord who was looking at purchasing another property, and when he went into the building, he basically discovered that the water heater had not been working for some time, and the tenants knew this, right? And that presented like a dangerous situation. So I think, you know, there has to be a way to strike a balance. I know the last couple of times that the council has attempted to address this, they've played with, I guess, how often. You know, some communities do it annually, some communities do it every 2 years, some communities do it every 3 years. So I think it's worth looking at again and not just putting it aside, because you know, the majority of my understanding is the majority of people in the town are in rentals, right? So and I think it's not something, I think without my understanding is without that on the books, the code enforcement can't just go into a property and inspect, right? There has to be an ordinance that allows them to do that. So you know, I consider it just like we, you know, if you're a restaurant, right, there's health inspections, right? So if you're offering a public accommodation, it really needs to be inspected. So hopefully the council gives that some thought in the future. Thank you.
And it's one of the reasons you got voted out. Eric,
Mr. Stahl.
sorry.
Do we have anybody else? Okay. So believe me, we will definitely take your concerns and comments into consideration as we move forward. And so we thank you all for being here to express, your opinions and thoughts.
As you move forward, so like, as in doing it,
What was it? Yeah,
as you move forward, meaning that you're gonna adopt this. Is that what you're saying?
no, we're not saying anything like that right now.
No, I'm hoping not. I hope you
So
people
we'll
think.
go ahead and move on to our consent calendar. In your packets, you have the minutes to the December 4th study session and the minutes to the December 6th regular session. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, support.
Do you have any questions or comments on the items? Okay, City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Reed.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Muller.
Yes, I don't see the study session that we just presently had on the 15th. Oh, okay, okay. I just thought that it was supposed to be on.
Any other questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanier,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution 2021-41 for the fiscal year 2022 budget appropriation?
So moved, support.
And do we have Director Mead here or?
Yep, I will, pick it up and then Tom, feel free to jump in wherever I leave off. Council members, you should have received a hard copy of your, budget, the 2022 budget last week. The fiscal year 2022 budget was prepared for the city of Albion's Charter of Code of Ordinances and the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act of Local Units of Government, Public Act 2 of 1968 as amended. As discussed at our November 6th study session, the fiscal year budget has an estimated revenues of $4,570,710, and estimated appropriations in the amount of $4,754,891. Is balanced with a planned use of $184,181 of ARPA funds. Total budget for all funds is $12,924,095 in revenues and $13,126,565 in appropriations. We've also included the 2022 fee schedule. You know, the only changes that have been made were the increases to our sewer rates that were approved by council back in 2019 and again on December 6th of this year. There are also some other minor changes. Pavilion shelter reservations, they have been increased, $20 for residents, $15 for non-residents, just to cover the cleanup cost we've seen an increase in use and to cover the time for our workers to go out and make sure that they are available for people who are reserving them. As well as you see a $50 increase to reserve additional picnic tables just due to people destroying and breaking, just damaging our property. So to cover cost of replacement. The tree dump halves has been increased by $5. You can recall, we are starting to compost per state regulations. We had to create a compost site at our tree dump. It has been closed for a few years, but we are back. It's up and running. So this will cover the fee to start properly composting leaves and debris. And then there was an increase. We added a 24-hour peddler's license just due to a demand. We received a lot of requests throughout the year for just a 24-hour type of license instead of the 30-day. So that is included for $25. So that is our fiscal year 2022 budget. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Tom, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, it's all real good. These numbers are just like we presented in the study session, they're getting early November.
Any questions or comments from council? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanier,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the resolution 2021-42 for the fiscal year 21 budget amendments.
Support.
Director Miller, are you speaking on this one? Oh, Director Miller, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Okay, there, it's included in, yes, if you want, please.
Good evening, County Finance Director. This resolution was for the 2021 amended budget. The numbers are, the process is pretty much the same as what you just gone through with the 2022 budget. Only as we had shared earlier, this is to provide you with where we anticipate we may be at the end of 2021. And with that said, we're looking at anticipated revenues of about $4,975,342 in general fund. General fund expenditures of $5,083,956. Leaving us with a expenditures over revenue of $108,614. Again, I don't anticipate that being that bad. We try to be conservative on 2021 because the auditors don't like it. We spend more than what we ask you for permission to spend. So we want to make sure those numbers are, the appropriations are high enough to try to take in any unexpected expenditures that might creep up between now and the end of the year. And with special revenues or special revenue funds, I'm sorry, we're looking at total revenues of $4,310,470,000, appropriations of $4,936,236. Did I say that right? $4,936,236. Shortfall is $625,000, but again, these are special revenue funds. We anticipate that is where our taxpayer money comes in for the millages and stuff for the streets and everything, and then we spend it out, to cover, to fix streets, do major projects, and things like that. So again, we anticipate expenditure would exceed revenues. Same with debt service funds. $256,898 in revenue, $255,003 in expenditures. And again, that's money being transferred into these funds just to pay debt. Enterprise funds, $2,443,480 in revenue, $3,013,315 in expenditures, for a shortfall of $569,835. But again, the enterprise funds does have depreciation in there, so the actual cash loss is not nearly that large. And we are also addressing it through the increased sewer and water rates that we've been discussing. Internal service fund, $328,000 revenue, $320,239 in revenue, $337,754 expenditures. All our other funds, $791,065 revenue, $741,662 in expenditures, for a total revenue over expense of $49,403. And trust funds, $1,848,115 revenue, $1,565,300 in expenditures, for a surplus of $282,815. Any questions on? And again, these are pretty much the numbers that you looked at from the study session early November. And of course, we did talk about a few changes last council meeting, so a couple amendments, and we have a couple for tonight that are not included in here because these are on the total level and what we'll bring later tonight are on an individual account level, so will affect them a little bit, but not significant at all, so. Questions?
Questions or comments from the council? No? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Please, and the next meeting, if we come to time, we'll have those other amendments
I'm sorry.
later in the day. Okay. Okay,
That makes sense.
okay, yeah, you showed it to me, yeah, thank you. Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Director Mead? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yeah.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes,
and there's Taylor.
Yes. We have a motion to approve the discussion and approval of the Safebuilt service agreement.
so support.
And Director Arnold, are you going to speak on this?
Short and sweet with this one. This is our agreement with Safebuilt that keeps them working for us. And keeps us compliant with what the state requires us to do for inspections, plan review, permitting. City Attorney Harkness has already looked this over, and we're recommending approval so that we can keep doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes, Helen?
Just to piggyback off of what Director Arnold was saying, I went through the agreement, I made several changes and Safebuilt was in agreement with all the changes, so they've all been integrated.
And worth reiterating just one more time that this has nothing to do with rental certification. This is keeping the current level of services we have.
Do we have any questions or comments for Director Arnold? Yes, Councilman Miller.
Yes, this is sort of for, Safebuilt. When you go in and do inspections, whether, if it's for, a business, do you list, everything that needs to be done with that building, or do you just, tell them one at a time?
So when we go in and do an inspection through a permit, we are required to disclose any code violations that we witness on our inspection. We're required to document that as well as provide a code section so they can look it up in the code if they so choose. But we give them an exhaustive list of corrections that need to be made.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, Jackson,
Yes,
Waller,
Yes,
and there's Taylor.
Yes. We have a motion to approve of the construction of the Macintosh Park Playground, Splashpad, and Pavilion.
so move.
Second. Mayor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council, if you can recall back late summer, the Albion Community Foundation announced a wonderful gift that was made by Tony and Chrissy DeNicola in honor of their parents, to the tune of $4 million. We are well into the first phase of the Blueprint for a Better Albion project. With that is the construction of Macintosh, a playground, Splashpad, and Pavilion in Macintosh Park. Included in your packet are renderings of the potential playground and Splashpad. Myself, along with the Community Foundation and the Whiteman Associates who are working with us to develop this. We had a public engagement session where we went into the schools, listened to, I think who was gonna benefit from this, most of the children. We let them decide what they wanted to see in this park. As you can see, kids have expensive taste, they wanted it all. So Whiteman and Associates, they were very good at listening to the children, as well as we had an evening session and to invite the community as a whole to come out and weigh in on what they wanted to see in that park space. And I think they did a great job of listening to all of the feedback and designing a wonderful playground and splash pad area for Macintosh Park. This has been presented to the subcommittee who Tony and Chrissy have put in place to oversee the funds for the project. They have approved this as well. So now we bring it to council for formal approval so that we can get forward with ordering this equipment and make sure that it is installed for 2022.
Do you have any questions or comments from council on renderings or information provided? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Is there a deadline date
I'm sorry for,
when you're gonna implement some of this in this part?
we're looking to have the splash pad and playground up and running by July of 2022.
No.
So we are kind of on a tight deadline to get this all, needs to just be approved by council, and then Whiteman and Associates, they will finalize the designing, and we will be releasing for bid to get this constructed.
Councilman Rankin?
Just as a kind of point of clarification and disclosure, I am the executive director for the Albion Community Foundation. And just a clarity on my vote tonight, I'm going to vote tonight, but to be clear, this is all being paid for by donor dollars. I do not personally benefit from this money at all. In fact, 100% of the money that comes into the foundation for this gift has to leave the foundation for this gift. With no payment to me for my services at the foundation. I'm paid for out of an endowment supported by the Albion Community Foundation. So I am going to vote on this measure tonight, but I wanted to, in the spirit of full transparency, share that this gift does not personally enrich myself, and we can provide financial documentation if needed.
So as you can all see by the renderings, this is pretty exciting stuff. I mean, all of this is going to be utilized, I'm sure, by the children, not only in those neighborhoods, but children from other communities. We totally anticipate, having this as an attraction, which will increase, visitors, along with a lot of foot traffic along the Austin Avenue corridor.
We have included also kind of the master plan for Macintosh Park, what will be included as we move forward with the blueprint for a better Albion. So in addition to the splash pad, playground and pavilion, there will be basketball, tennis and pickleball courts, 2 parking lots. We're looking to have a walking path around the perimeter of the park, soccer field, a possible skate park. So it's a very exciting time, and like I said, this is just phase 1 of this blueprint for a better Albion. They're looking to make investments all throughout Albion, so all of our park spaces will benefit from this wonderful gift.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Linda.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I guess this is just a point of clarification in terms of the budget. I recall when we were first notified about the generous gift that there were several other parks. So in terms of the just over $2 million for this initial part of Macintosh Park, are the other projects planning to happen simultaneously or in 2022? I was just curious about kind of seeing the different dollars working in Albion.
So as you remember, the other part of this gift was a matching dollar. So as soon as the foundation office can raise money, then the Nicholas will match dollar for dollar. So as soon as we have the funding for the other projects, that's when, because there is a list in order of what they would like to see have done throughout the town. And so that's kind of like the order that we're going to work with.
It was in the blueprint document that was distributed to council. There's 13 projects, in fact, with estimated budget numbers next one, so you can see kind of the spend down with the gifts over time. There is the DeNicholas have requested that we try to match this in a year, which is incredibly ambitious, which I'm excited to try to do. But we'll have a little grace period if we need it. But the idea is that we can match it within a year and be bringing these projects online, bringing it to council as we start to make these investments.
Yes, Councilman Muller.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So when you say matching funds, are you saying the city of Albion needs to have matching funds to what they're doing?
This is not related to any city tax dollars or city funds. This is matching funds from donors and other investors and businesses and corporations. For example, the Gerstacker Foundation just made a generous donation towards this, which will garner another set of funds to bring into the foundation to then bring the council to support the projects in the community.
Gotcha, thank you. So you may see several projects come before you within the next few years.
Any other questions or comments?
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do you have a motion to approve the ADPS Taser purchase?
So move.
Support.
And do we have,
Deputy Chief Kern.
Chief Kern?
Good evening, council, mayor, city manager. We're looking to replace some very outdated tasers that we have currently. And with that, we need to get new holsters that for the tasers. The ones we have currently are some of the first generation tasers that came out. And it's to the point now where we can't even get parts for them. And it's kind of like the radios where everything's kind of last minute. They're giving us like a trade-in value of like $4,500, which after January 1st, you might as well just throw them away because they're not gonna take them. So this is actually saving us about $4,500 to buy them. And we have the funds available through the forfeiture fund to make this purchase. But just like anything else, when you upgrade, of course, you gotta upgrade everything else that goes with it. So all of our holsters have to be upgraded. The docking station that charges these tasers, that has to all get upgraded. So it's not just something we can just easily buy a taser and just be done with it. We gotta do it all. So, but they're expecting the price to go up after the first of the year due to inflation. And they're looking at a wait time of a few months instead of being able to get it within a matter of weeks.
So this is for 6 tasers, is that
Correct, yeah.
So we got the 6 tasers.
And we're buying 20 right-handed holsters and 3 left-handed holsters.
Do we have any questions for Deputy Chief Kern?
Yep, so, yeah, so total, for this, it's $20,753.59. You can recall, have been waiting for quite some time to receive a little over $400,000 in forfeiture funds from a case that public safety handled quite a few years ago now. We actually received those funds just about a few weeks ago, I wouldn't say a month. So we, obviously, public safety, they have developed a list of just equipment that needs to be replaced, waiting for those funds to hit our account. So now that we have them, we are looking to replace some outdated equipment. So this will come from the forfeiture funds, which is a fund within public safety's budget. And there is a budget amendment coming for you for approval for this purchase, if it is authorized.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed.
Yeah.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So I have a motion to approve the budget amendment request 2021-06 for the Maple Grove building assessment.
So move.
Support.
And Director Lee?
One of the things that we were waiting on, after the budget was put together, we were waiting on some numbers from the engineering firm. The ADA board decided to have an engineer come in and do a entire assessment of Maple Grove building to make sure, to kind of determine, I guess, let me back up a little bit more, just so you get a little history on it. If you recall, when they had the unfortunate fire out there, which nobody was hurt, but it caused, or required a lot of renovation to get it back up to where it should be. So in the process of doing that, there was a bond issue, and those bonds have been paid off now. So on the, kind of give you a little history where we're coming from, that was a number of years ago, did a lot of renovations, added on some, did the bond issue, bonds are all paid off. Now they're going back in and looking at much of the thing or other things that they feel are needed out there. You remember they had to do a big boiler replacement last year. I mean, a lot of the stuff up there is just getting old again. So that's kind of where they're coming from. They are doing an assessment. The cost for the assessment is $17,500. Maple Grove has a very healthy fund balance. At the bottom, you can see they're currently projected to come in at about $430,938. The 17.5 would come out of fund balance potentially. And that would leave them with a ending fund balance of $413,438. Now, when I say potentially, there's been some discussion or we've reached out to the Albion Trust to see if they would want to kick in money to reimburse Maple Grove for that. If they do, that would not affect their fund balance at all. We just haven't heard back from the Albion Trust, so we're trying to be conservative, looking at it as if Maple Grove's just gonna pay it all. And like I said, when they get reimbursed from the Albion Trust, or we may not, I don't, we haven't heard, so. Any questions on that?
Councilman.
I just have a question about the Albion Trust. Is it, I might be mistaken, but doesn't council have to ask for a distribution from the Albion Trust, or does city administration get to do that by themselves? I would just want some clarification on that way no one gets into trouble, that way if that's on the council, you have to do that. Because I remember I had looked at some Albion Trust in the past, so I just want to make sure.
It's a very good question. I'm not really certain how it's been done. I mean, I can remember some times where we reached out. I'm not sure the process. I don't know how that was done.
I know the board decides about the distribution, but I'm more concerned about is who gets to ask them for the distribution. I know it's set up very specifically, and so I just don't want to get into any hidden potholes on the way to doing the right thing.
Sure.
I reached out to the trust, just letting them know there was an interest to request funds from the trust, but I have not heard that from them, so.
And I mean, I'll be honest too, 17.5 is not anything that's, this would be pretty easy for Maple Grove to cover, because in addition, when we had to do that bond issue, Usda at that time made us set aside $5,800 every month in a, let me get it right, future capital replacement reserve account. So that has been growing ever since way back when we did the bond issue. We did take quite a bit out last year to do the boiler and all the other heating, but like I said, if Albion Trust, if it got too complicated, if they chose not to, they would be able to handle this quite easily, but it's a good point. It's worth looking in to see what the formal process is.
Any other questions or comments for Director Mead? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the budget amendment request 2021-06. 2021-07.
So moved.
Support. So this would be the amendment for the taser purchase.
Correct. For the purchase of the tasers, which Deputy Chief Kern just talked to you about, this would be the actual, you've obviously approved the purchase. This is just approving what line item it's coming out of from their drug enforcement fund. And it's showing, we've shown it on here as a reduction of their fund balance, but obviously their fund balance got a big boost this year, right near the end of the year, with the money finally coming in that we had been waiting for a number of years from a large forfeiture case. So it's more or less just saying, okay, that money's come in, let's take this opportunity to try to replace some of this outdated equipment. So again, there's plenty of money in there to cover it. So what came in from the forfeiture. So questions on this?
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Yeah, so you said it's not gonna come out the drug, but we have the numbers on the top here from where we started from. So are these all added together down here? No.
The 67.5 is what was currently budgeted in equipment in that line and that account number. We're bumping it up 25, and that also includes, that 67.5 includes the purchase from last council meeting of the radios, right? So it was even less, and then you approved last council meeting to purchase radios, so we went up to 67.5. Now we'd like to put up another 25 to cover these tasers. So the total that would be budgeted as an expenditure in that account is the 92.5. That will reduce their fund balance from 403,000 down to 700 or 378, transposing numbers there, 378,000. But again, that 403 is large because of all that money that came in. So if that answered your question.
It did, just making sure that went down in there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Director Meader? Director Meader?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Laura Bowman to the district library?
So
Support.
And do we have Ms. Bowman here?
She is not. She actually contacted our clerk's office, letting us know that she already had a prior commitment to tonight, so she was unable to come out, but she did want us to let council know that she's very interested in serving on this board.
So in your packet, you do have her board application. You also have her resume and her reason of interest. Do you have any questions about the information provided? Councilman Winston?
I just want to point out that the candidate has a master's in library and information science, which is a terminal degree in the library and information sciences field. It's on the same level. I mean, I shouldn't say the same level, but it's as if they got their PhD in library sciences. So highly qualified candidate, with a great resume.
Director Migo?
Councilmember Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we do have a couple of added items. We have a motion to approve the budget amendment 2021-08 for the EDC site revenues.
Support.
And recommend.
Thank you, Mayor. We were waiting for final numbers from EDC. This is a project that's in process, and you're always kind of trying to guess how much work they're going to get done, by the end of the year. So we were trying to get an estimate from the engineer where we might be. We've already received 2 invoices. We could not get the information on how much we may be invoiced between now and the end of the year. So to take a worst case scenario, we just threw the total amount in that was bid to do, or the quote from Whiteman, the engineers. Their total quote was $39,900. I'm anticipating that not all that will be done this year. I mean, some of it will probably carry into 2022, but just to be safe, we put it on there just in case. And obviously, if we don't spend that, it's fine with the others if we don't spend what we are conservatively estimating. And this particular expenditure is covered by a grant, so it will not have any effect on their fund balance. There's a grant that would all this is being paid for out of the grant. So we're just trying to get the approval from council that we would like, if worst case scenario, to spend the $39,900 from this particular account in EDC. Any questions on it?
So this is site readiness on specific properties, or?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, yes, it's for the 125 property, it's site readiness grant to help us market that vacant property. It's kind of essentially creating a second industrial park. That's what they are pursuing these funds for. If we recall, we came before council at the beginning of this year to apply for a CDBG grant to cover this project.
So this is one of Michigan,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Do you have any questions or comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Williamson?
Just to clarify, you'll notice that there's not a change in the fund balance because this is grant dollars, so this is not over and above in our budget, that we're just doing this because we're making the expenditure and it is grant funds. So there's no additional city or tax dollars being spent here, this is grant funds for site readiness.
Correct.
Any other questions, comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lemieux,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment 2021-09?
Support.
Stephanie?
Thank you, Mayor. This is for a, too many of these getting all confused on here. Actually, I don't know if Director Arnold wants to contribute anything or not, but this is for some technical assistance, if I understand, for the master plan. I don't know if you want to add anything. And again, these are the $6,509 are the sum of the two invoices we have received so far this year. Again, it's ongoing. They're still working on it, so there'll probably be some more, but we do not anticipate them to come in until 2022. And again, this is covered by a grant as well, so no change to the fund balance on this.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up there, but this isn't money that we taxed. This isn't anything that we're throwing from our fund balance. This is technical assistance, which is what the MEDC calls it. It's a grant where we buy into their program with our RRC status to make sure that we're keeping up the best ways that we can with the master planning requirements from the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. And for doing so, we get extra money like this when we ask for it to pay for consultants like Beckett and Rader who are helping us with our comprehensive plan. So yes, please, it needs paid. We need to pay them for the work that they are doing, and the state's given us the vast majority of the money to do so.
As long as you can formally throw money.
Do we have any questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilman Lemieux?
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I just wanted to recall and confirm that we already allocated our quarter percentage of the total amount allocated for their technical assistance. So this is, I'm just repeating what I'm hearing from you. This is the invoice for the services already rendered, which we have already agreed
Yes.
to. Yes.
Yep.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lemieux,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have the, approval for the discussion of the citywide leave pickup?
It's just discussion.
Yes. Director Miller?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we're here to talk about leaf pickup again.
Our favorite topic.
Again,
Yes.
it's a good thing. So before I start, let me say, I believe that leaf pickup could be a good thing. I just want to make sure everyone is aware it can be expensive and very labor intensive. We estimate to do a single round of leaf pickup throughout the entire city. It would be about $57,000 and take 4 weeks. That is being pretty conservative. That's breaking the city up into 4 sections like we did for asphalt patching. And we think it takes about a week per section. That being said, we know leaves fall at different times. So more than likely, we're gonna have to go back and do a quick pass through again, once we do the first round. So we think that'll be much faster, less time, and we can do the whole time in about 2 weeks, and that would be about 20,000. So you gotta think that's like 77,000 plus 6 weeks of time, where we can't do anything else besides leaf pickup. That's pretty much the entire street department working nonstop on leaf pickup. So that's the major hurdle. Second hurdle is our composting site. We don't have the capacity to take all the entire city's leaves year after year after year. We would have to figure something else out to do with our leaves. I think we could take them for 2, maybe 3 years. And if we got really aggressive with our composting, maybe even a few more. But then we're just gonna be out of room. Our tree dump isn't large enough, our site isn't large enough, the state doesn't allow us to do that much of composting in that area. So we'd have to find another location for that. So there's the 2 major hurdles. If anybody's got questions, we can talk about it. Like I said, I do think it could be a good thing. It would keep the leaves out of the storm sewers, make our streets cleaner. Obviously, you guys know we have trouble getting all the leaves picked up, all the residents and whatnot, and it is what it is. So.
Yes, Councilman.
So this has clearly been a passion for me because I came in seeing the excessive leaves that hadn't been picked up. So my thoughts are still being gathered because I think that one of the biggest barriers is the thick debris and leaves that have accumulated over the years. And knowing the street sweeper just can't get that. So what does it mean to really clean our streets? And then identifying where the sewer basins are, like if we could put flags, I think that would really help at least keep those areas cleared and have the focus, for residents to be able to help in that process. But then I think that in terms of our service agreement with Granger, when the yard waste service ends, we still have leaves on the tree. So I think if the city could supplement their service, it's really a timing issue for me, or for what I've seen so far. And then the continual partnership with residents, because I feel like if we're going to expend further resources, we should make sure we really get the streets cleared. So those are like my first thoughts about this.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
We got plenty of individuals that have talked to us about the league. So the other question was asked, if we could not get this going as far as the extra day, even when Granger had shut down, if there was a place where they could take and dump their leaves for a month.
Yeah, the tree dump is open usually until hunting season typically starts, middle of November. And people are welcome to go there on the weekends that it's open and dump their leaves. It has to be paper bags, no plastic bags, and it needs to be where the leaves are in the windrows.
The pass is required for a tree dump. We do
Correct.
offer a free day throughout the
Yep.
summer, or I don't know if there are multiple, but a tree pass is required just due to the increase of the composting now that we are required to do.
There is a contractor pass too that I've been wanting to talk about because a lot of people don't realize that contractors can buy a pass from the city. It's more expensive. Can't remember how much it is off the top of my head now, but it's maybe a couple $100. But we've had a number of contractors go in there without a pass before, and we just have to turn them away. So, maybe if you have a yard, someone that comes to clean your yard or landscape or whatever, you can let them know that that's an option too.
Because there's a big concern for city business. They're, struggling with getting their leaves taken care of. And also we know how important it is around those gutters and on the side of the street. So thank you for all the information you did, Bill. And I know it wasn't easy. Most numbers came back big, but
Yeah.
I did like the $20,000.
Yeah.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the last Granger pickup for the leaves on Wednesday before Thanksgiving? Was that?
It's the last week of November, so depending on your household, I think everyone in Albion is on a Monday and Tuesday, so it was right around that time.
I thought it was like right before Thanksgiving was the last pickup, but then you're saying that the tree dump closes mid-November,
Yes,
so they're closing before the last.
that could be something we can change. If that's a pursuit you guys want to go down, we could do that. That's fairly easy.
Is it a safety concern having it open during that season?
Staffing.
Staffing, yeah, staffing. A lot of guys hunt on the weekends.
Got it.
But they can be done.
And I think that also a possible option is just reaching out to Granger, because I mean, I think we all noticed that the leaves are staying on the trees much longer than they have in the past. So maybe if they could possibly extend our yard waste pickup by an additional week or so.
That would be, that'd be great. Yes, Councilwoman Reed. I was looking down my street, and I was looking down some more streets, and there's one where, when that whole snow came and they shoveled the snow and threw all those leaves that was in the street up on people's property, and they were complaining about that. And on Chestnut Street, it is down towards the end where you're going towards Albion Street. It is just layered with leaves now. So what's gonna happen to that when they do the snow?
Yeah, unfortunately, the leaves that are in the road, when it comes time for plowing, they do get pushed back up on the curb.
Yeah, I know, I talked to the people down my neighborhood, and they did not rake leaves, because I saw them doing it one time, and I said, you can't do that, you can't rake your leaves into the street. But there's so many trees and things down through there, the leaves blowing causes a lot, because I cleaned in front of my house 3 times. Not only my yard, but along the street, the side, the street part, and you still get leaves and leaves, so something needs to be done, because it didn't really make time with them.
And I know that area you're talking about, that goes kind of downhill, and I noticed that was particularly bad too. It almost was like a row of leaves on the curb.
Yes, Councilman Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. All right, Mr. Miller, your recommendation is, what is your recommendation?
To not pursue the leaf pickup at this time.
And
A full leaf pickup.
a full leaf pickup?
Yeah.
Okay, is this considered a full leaf pickup?
Yeah, what I wrote up here would be a full on leaf pickup like we used to do before Granger.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
So when you're not doing a full leaf pickup, when like anything in between happen, prior to or after the snow, basically, like prior to spring, is that what you're thinking in terms of a timeline? Or would you think, because it seems like with the weather right now, it's kind of, I would think that would make more wear and tear on the equipment.
So you're thinking if we don't do a full on leaf pickup? Yeah, this time of year would be okay. Sometimes it's already snowed and it's too late. This year, we're pretty fortunate, but I still think it would be 20,000. That would take a little bit more management. Not doing it once, we would need a lot of communication to the public, let them realize we're gonna come through in just a couple areas. So, they need to do their part, get their Granger going. Or if there's something left, make everyone aware. And then, all the properties that are owned by citizens or whatever, let's get hit them too.
So if that were possible, when would be the ideal time in your mind to do that? Considering that there's an accumulation already.
I think we're pretty well past it.
Okay.
I would say first week of December, maybe,
Okay.
if we're talking about just a quick little run through the city.
And it's still, I want council to keep in mind, Director Miller, we're not against this, but we do have to understand if we are going to do this, whether it be the quick sweep, we are removing all of, it will take our entire street department to get this done. So that means a halt in all other street services until they complete this.
Right. And, actually, so I put on here, you can see equipment needed 13,000. I can explain that. So what that is, that's a scoop, kind of like the city marshal. It goes under the loader, they can scoop down, closes, they pick it up and open it over a truck. We don't have that. It makes leaf pickup very fast. It makes it very efficient. What has happened in the past won't happen again. In the past, we've taken a truck and backed it up to a curb, take the loader, push up against the truck, scrape the side of the truck, up into the truck. blown tires, bent rims, scratch trucks, bent trucks. It's not a great thing. So if we don't purchase that, the other option is take 2 loaders and run them into each other, pick them up simultaneously, then don't. It can be done. I don't like it as well as the scoop, so that's where I'm coming up with that equipment needed. It's much more efficient. That's a one-time buy though. So if we're gonna do this, that's, you know, one time for several years. Something to think about.
Is that the way Marshall did this?
Mhm.
Cause I watched them one day, I saw them and I just stopped and parked and watched the way they threw them out into the street and then scooped them up and put them on the truck and they got through, the street in no time.
It's slick.
Yes, Councilman Reed?
So I just want to acknowledge a lot of communities who went to a single hauler waste pickup system have generally started coming back to doing leaf pickup as well. Usually not at the intense level that they did before. Jackson is one of the cities closest to us that just recently moved back to, not moved back, I should say, they have their single hauler service, but there are other things, but then their city does leaf pickup as well. So I would be in support of this. I think that we should have, you know, I would like to see like a plan for public services, and then also I would like to see the cost benefit, like it's gonna cost us not just money, but time on other projects. That would be a realistic expectation, because what I think we run into at council sometimes is we're like, oh, this didn't happen, A, B, and C didn't happen. And then they're like, well, we were doing these corners because council wanted the corner, you know, the corners repaved or whatever. And so when we put all of our effort into that, obviously things aren't getting done. So I think as far as from a communication standpoint, as we work on that over the next year, it'd be nice to know if we're gonna do this, which I am in support of doing some leaf pickup. It's looking pretty trashy out there. It's molded over for years. Let's know right up front what the cost benefit is on it. So the benefit is we got our streets cleaned, we can leaves put away, but the cost is we're gonna go ahead and delay a couple projects because it's gonna get the time of city employees. And so I think if we have that clear communication up front, then on the other end, we're in a much better situation when we're talking about these projects in the future. So that, if my 2 cents there, that's what I thought. So,
So Director Miller, in your opinion, if we did and move towards something like this, like we said, is this just a one-time thing that maybe we look at the beginning of December, or do you think this needs to be done in 2 phases?
I think if we're gonna do it, and keep the single hauler, we just do a quick pass in the first of summer.
I mean, I do know that there's problem areas, but I also do know that there's neighborhoods where the residents are doing the best that they can to utilize green to take the leaves. So I think we could probably identify some areas, and if we can work together and find funds where this can be done at the beginning of December, this is something we could probably look at moving towards. Sound good? Thank you, Dr. Miller. All right, future agenda items. Council members, what, anything put on upcoming agendas?
well, we were about a presentation tonight about rental certification. I think we need to maybe have a conversation about reconstituting a committee to talk about that. Clearly the manager and administration are giving us a clear sign that we need to talk about this. And so we should at least convene another committee to reconsider what rental certification looks like. So at least have a conversation about a committee at the next meeting. And maybe kind of discussion / create, whatever, you know.
Any other agenda items?
I just have a few things, just heads up coming at the next meeting. We will have a approval for an expenditure to replace the back door to City Hall. If you recall, we replaced the back entrance ramp. Now we need to make sure that our door is ADA compliant as well. So we will be bringing forward an estimate for your approval, as well as please check your emails within the next few days. I will be sending out a doodle survey to determine a Saturday for the study session on adult marijuana sales, as well as our half-day session with the MML coach.
Yes, Maria Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes, I mean, I really would like us to discuss about coming in here at least a half an hour early so we can discuss our agenda. I think we really need to do that. And I think you, heard us for sending out the information. We need to also put on our next agenda about, we have adopted, the income tax ordinance.
We have an income tax ordinance, but as part of that ordinance, we have an income tax, or we're required to have an income tax review board, which we have, it's just not populated. So we need to.
We need people to apply for it, and then we will bring their.
Some non-council, non-employee persons have to serve on a per statute.
Any other agenda items? Right, so at this time, we will invite members of the gallery to come up and speak. You have 3 minutes for public comments.
Right. Install. All right. So what are you saying? You're gonna raise income tax? Is that what I was hearing?
No.
Income tax review committee, appeals committee.
To what?
For anybody who would want to appeal their income tax bill.
Okay, all right, just one. Okay, as far as the buying that equipment, you know, to pick them leaves up, I think that's a good move. Do we have the unit that will run that? Where's that? That's a good idea. Okay, that would save us lots of money. Years ago, we had allotted $70,000 to pick up the leaves. What happened to that $70,000 when they quit doing it? You know what I'm saying? Where'd it go? It just disappeared. So what I'm saying is, you put that cost on the people, you know, by making them pay Granger for bags, making them do the work themselves, making them pay somebody to do it for themselves if they can't do it. You know, I'm thinking leaf pickup is not a bad idea. It's saving you money because it's not having a bunch of leaves go down your drains and clog everything up. And it makes it look better. You know, I mean, it's to the city's advantage to do the leaf thing. As long as they ain't getting into my pocket too deep, I ain't got a problem. You know, but I can mow mine. I don't care. I'll mow my leaves to nothing. I'll mow them to mulch. But I do believe that the one guy had a good point. They never give up any time to see you people, to talk to you about issues. That everything's a 3-minute rush. You know, people need to be able to talk to you guys. You become non-transparent when we can't talk to you. It frustrates people. It gets me frustrated, as you can see on my voicemail. Frustrated, you know, and I do believe it's people got to have an input here, and you got to believe we're serious here. We're here because it's going to cost us, and you know, expenses, man. We're poor, like Elverine said. We're just trying to get by here. We ain't making a killing on this landlord business. You know, like you said, people trash your shit. They trash it, and then I'm scared. Excuse my language. They trash your stuff, and you got to spend that money. Then things break, and you know you got to put a $12,000 roof on your barn, which I get. You know, but I don't need them rushing me. I don't need people like that to rush me. I get it when I can get it. If it's a problem for my people, then I get it done now. But if it's something that can get done later, then that's when I do it, and that's how I look at it. You know, and that's how people need to be. You can't have these people pressuring these landlords to do something that they can't afford to do at the time. If it's not causing a health issue, concentrate on the people that are causing the problems. That's what I'm saying with the landlord. Concentrate on them. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about the rest of us landlords that aren't hurting anybody. That take care of our property. I mean, we ain't perfect, but we try the best we can, you know, and I can only work so much. I only got so much money to work with. And I try to do it.
I'll try to be brief this time. I've been around town for 40 years.
Can you state your name again, please?
Terry Atkins, the same as it was before. And there's a solid waste village owned, my taxes, all the taxes. It was put in place originally about probably 30 years ago. And part of the big part of it was to pick up the leaves. That was part of the solid waste. We're still being charged of solid waste, but we're not getting any pickup, not getting any. So there's got to be money going somewhere for such solid waste. And what does it take care of? I'll let you ponder that. But the thing with he's talking about the damages. Do you honestly believe that the landlord, I had this in Jackson, I had rental property in Jackson, pays the registration fee, pays the inspection fees, gets the occupancy permit, and goes in, they sneak in after dark, after night, and damage their own property? You know, no landlord does that. It's the tenants. And until the tenant has some consequences, one way or the other, there's, you're never gonna have good, perfect housing. But the way it is now, the tenant can do $2,000 or $3,000 worth of damages and leave with $2,000 rent owed, and there's no recourse. I mean, you can garnish them, but they move and move and move. But you walk away from the gas station not paying $10, and the police is all over hell looking for you. So there's got to be some consequences for tenants, or the rental certification is never going to work. You can look at Jackson and Lansing. Like I said, I've been 40 years. If certification did the job, they would, after 3 or 4 years, they would not have problems with their housing, because we pay to get it fixed. And 2 years later, you come in, same stuff. You got to pay the inspection fee, anything. And different inspectors pick on different things. I sold my property in Jackson, but I can't sell Albion because nobody wants to buy it right now. Anyway, think about it. And get back to us. We'd like to get some feedback. Like I said, I've been through three mayors, 4 city managers, and most of the council's been changed, and we never get feedback.
Anybody else would like to stand?
Hi, I'm Morris Arvoy. I'm at 417 Elizabeth Street in Albion, Michigan, 49224. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to read today because I don't want to forget anything. As somebody who believes in body, heart, and soul, I'd like to add my heartfelt voice to the legions of people who have expressed sympathy for someone who has lived a life full of heart and soul, and that's Hazel Lias of Albion. As I did in private, I'd like to express my sorrow for what she experienced during her verbal and physical assault by Albion College President Matthew Johnson when he intimidated her, threw something at her, and made her cry. Assault is not simply hitting or shoving someone. It can be verbal, and it can involve thrown objects like this one. I'm a little dismayed that this august body that is or has been so quick to defend the beleaguered Matt Johnson, president of Albion College, has been so silent during this almost a week. It'll be a week tomorrow night. Silent during this meeting about what happened there. Nothing about Albion College, nothing about the president of Albion College, nothing about Hazel Lias. Silence, or slow, maybe I'll just say that, slow to express sympathy to one of our own who's been here for decades. Matt Johnson has only been here for about 1.5 years. Hazel Lias told her story publicly. Johnson and the college and the board of trustees, led by Michael Harrington, have been silent. Nothing from them has been expressed publicly about that incident. Nothing has been said. The president's private apology to her confirms that what he did was wrong, and he knows that, but there's been nothing publicly stated. There's been a lot about Hazel. There have been eyewitnesses, and there are those who saw it. Further, the college president, Matthew Johnson, threatened a man who has committed his life to mentoring Black youths at the college, a community activist who works with people in town and beyond, Mo Berry, threatened him with arrest and jailing if he sets foot on the college campus again, and no one has said a word about that either. And what did he do to be threatened with arrest and to be thrown into jail for working with students, for mentoring them on mental health issues, for allegedly and being wrongly accused of speaking to the dean of students? And what will it finally, at long last, take for the powers that be, including all of you, to do as Spike Lee and mothers across the land say, to do the right thing? Thank you.
Would anybody else like to stand and address the council? Do we have anybody on? Okay. Councilman comments? Do you have any comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. A copy of my report wasn't included in the packet, however, I did send an updated manager's report to council earlier today. Hard copy has been placed at your seat. USDA equity projects, USDA Rural Development recently launched a new initiative, the USDA Equity Project. The city of Albion qualifies for that project. Through this project, USDA offers grants, technical assistance programs, loans, and loan guarantees that help create jobs and support economic development in areas that have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. A city town hall meeting will be scheduled after the new year to share more about the programs with city residents that they can apply and take advantage of to make repairs to their homes and other. There are a multitude of programs that are available through the USDA, so please stay tuned for more information on that. The City of Albion will be working with Albion College students enrolled in Dr. Vicki Baker's Spring Human Resource Management course on a semester-long project related to an HR topic. We're very excited for this partnership and look forward to working with our students this spring. DDA meeting, the DDA held their regular meeting on December 8th. The board discussed reestablishing a downtown facade grant program, vacant downtown buildings, and they approved the 2022 meeting dates. Study session to discuss priorities for this upcoming year has been scheduled for January 12th at 5:30 p.m. The ABA held their regular meeting on December 9th. The board discussed rental agreement with Edward Jones, status of the demolition of 219 North Eaton Street. They reviewed ABA owned properties here in town. They approved Maple Grove billing invoices and approved the budget amendment for the Maple Grove facility assessment. Their next meeting is scheduled for March 10th. Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, they working to update the city's comprehensive plan, met on December 9th. The committee reviewed and discussed the following chapters: background, community profile, and housing. Progress continues to be made on the city's comprehensive master plan update. The next steps are meeting with all stakeholders here in the community, as well as a public engagement session with that will be scheduled in January. So stay tuned for information on that. Albion Program Manager, I'm happy and so excited to announce Anisha Brewer will assume the role of a new shared community position as the Albion Programming Manager at the Bowman Theater and Battle Creek YMCA. We have a service agreement in place with the Battle Creek YMCA, so Anisha will assume that role and be responsible for implementing YMCA youth and adult recreation programs. So we're very excited to have her come on board. City Hall holiday hours, we will be closed December 24th and 25th to observe the Christmas holiday. Thursday and Friday. This is written really weird. And then we will be closed that following Thursday and Friday to observe the New Year holiday, December 30th and 31st. I do realize in my initial report, it said January. We're not going to hold off that long to celebrate the New Year. So that's December 30th and 31st. And then on the back is all of the individual department reports. You can all take a look to kind of catch up to what's happening on the individual departments.
Do you have any questions for City Administrator? For her report? Thank you for that information. And now we are on the council member comments. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just wanted to thank everyone and council members that attended the study session on the 15th of December about the Black Business Advisory Committee. It was a great discussion. We got feedback, and I just wanted to recognize to those that did attend and those that were watching that day, that I do hear that they are concerned with the now as an already established business. So hopefully that this advisory board could address some of the issues in the now also. As I had written this up, it was definitely talking about the now. And it also included years to come. So I just wanted them to know that I did hear their concerns for the now. Thank you, Ms. Mary.
Any other comments from council members? Yes, Councilwoman Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I wanted to thank Councilmember Lawler for all of the hard work that you have done for the Minority Business Advisory Commission. I took a lot of notes listening to the meeting last week, and I look forward to being able to participate in future meetings going forward. And I just wanted to emphasize that I really appreciate us being much more intentional about preventing displacement and exclusionary practices as we move forward as a city, and specifically look at closing the racial wealth gap. And then to the point of having resources and things that can help businesses now, the emphasis on accessibility and long-term engagement and being able to access the information that is available in ways that really meet people where they're at. And I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. And then I just wanted to briefly share a little bit about the PRT, because I know that that was talked about during that session. And that has become completely an emphasis on RRC. And so seeing the RRC resources being utilized in our city more widely is also something I think that we can continue to work on. But to the point of the outcomes that were created, the workforce task force that currently exists with the EDC and the Dreamville Rise program are great developments that have happened since then. And I know that we also have a lot of work to do. And so I'm excited to see a matrix of resources for our employers and employees. That's something that they're working on right now. Trainings and potentials for partnership, an emphasis on childcare and community navigation services. Those are all projects that I just wanted to briefly highlight that are being actually worked on by the workforce task force. And then the technical assistance that I heard Mr. Press speak to, we did actually utilize that, and we the city has a communications plan. The DDA did, updated their development plan, which it had been 20 years since that happened. And then there was the community branding strategy. So all of those things currently exist, and I just wanted to make sure we're all aware of that. And then a full report about what happened under Rising Tide is available online at albionmich.net/project-rising-tide. So I just wanted to make sure that was all available.
Any other comments? No, all right. Everybody's here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed, Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Chanel,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes, we adjourn 8:42 p.m.